Shalom and good evening, everyone. I'm Amir Tsarfati, and I'm here from Connect here in Galilee, right by the Jezreel Valley. And we are getting hit quite often by barrages of rockets from the north, from Hezbollah. So I'm just telling you that if from some reason you will see me disappearing from the screen for 10 minutes, don't go away. It is because there is a incoming rocket alarm and that we have to go to a nearby bomb shelter for 10 minutes. But this is a special Q&A regarding the war that we are right now finding ourselves in, not only in Gaza with Hamas, but also in the north with Hezbollah and with Iran. Iran, Persia, not Elam, Iran. We are kind of at war with Iran. From the very get-go, it was all about the Iranian proxies that are operating against us, and we don't fight against any other official country. We don't fight against the army of Lebanon, or the army of Syria, or the armies of Iraq, but we are definitely at war with the Iranian proxies, and we are exchanging some punches with the Iranians directly. And by the way, in the next 24 to 72 hours, expect something big to happen in Iran. We know it, and they should also know it. Okay, let me start with a prayer, and then I'll dive right into questions. You guys sent us a lot of questions, and I would love to answer as many as I can. So, Father, we thank you for your word. We thank you for being in control of everything. Now we ask that you will preside over this broadcast, over the technical aspect of it. Bless the people in the control room. Bless our people abroad that are receiving and sending us the questions. And we ask that also you will use this broadcast to comfort, educate, and also give us a sense of complete trust in you and in everything that you do. You allow things to happen for a reason and for a season. We thank you and we bless you in Yeshua's name. Amen. Again, shalom everyone. I'm Amir Tsarfati. This is a special Q&A on Israel at war. You guys were given the chance to send us questions regarding the war. I could sit here and talk forever, but I actually wanted an opportunity to answer your questions. And a lot of you sent us good questions, and I will dive into the first one. Hamas is the government of Gaza. Let's go to the first one, not to this one. Is Hezbollah part of the government of Lebanon or just an invading military force? Hezbollah is not an invading military force. Hezbollah, although it's an Iranian proxy, it's mostly consisted of Lebanese people. It's a political and military organization. It has representatives in the government and the parliament, and it also has its own military. So I would say this: Hezbollah is enjoying both worlds. I mean, they have their own military that controls southern Lebanon completely. They are working under the open eye and the noses of the United Nations Special Forces of Lebanon, UNIFIL. UNIFIL is useless. They are just allowing, instead of preventing Hezbollah, they are allowing Hezbollah to actually entrench themselves across southern Lebanon and in complete violation of United Nations Security Council Resolution 1701. So, yes, they are part of the government in Lebanon, but also operate as their own separate militia, which is 10 times or maybe 100 times stronger than the actual Lebanese military. Now, Daniel asks, is the IDF going to use the ammunition they confiscated from Hezbollah? It's very interesting, Daniel, that you ask. We found tons of Russian and Chinese-made, as well as Iranian-made weapons. We found Shoder missiles, anti-tank missiles such as Kornet. We found tons of rockets and tons of grenades and explosive and mines. The Israeli military is going to train special units to use this type of weapon in order for us not to have to throw it away, but to actually use it against our enemy. So yes, these are weapons worth hundreds of millions of dollars that Hezbollah left behind as they ran away from the front in southern Lebanon, and we are definitely going to use them. We have another one. Have mobile shelters been provided to the older homes without bomb shelters built into them? Well, in Israel, up until the early 1990s, bomb shelters existed, but they were not part of the house. They were community bomb shelters outside where people would run from their home down to the ground level and enter a bomb shelter. Ever since Saddam Hussein fired rockets at Israel in 1990-91, the building codes in Israel changed, and new homes and new houses and new apartments were all required to have a safe room, a bomb shelter within the house. So, of course, homes that are older have community bomb shelters. Homes that are newer have their own. And so this is why, by the way, thousands of rockets, and barely anyone is getting hit or dying from those rockets, because people, they do have shelters and they use them in a very smart and obedient way. Lewis, when Israel attacks the nuclear sites, will this fulfill the prophecy against Elam, seeing as how their facilities are in the area of ancient Elam? Let me put it to an end, this whole Elam thing. Elam is an ancient kingdom that does not exist anymore, and it is a small portion of today's Iran. So the prophecy regarding Elam is a prophecy that has already been fulfilled. That place does not exist. Today, we're not fighting against Elam. We're fighting against Persia, Iran. That's the prophecy that has to be fulfilled in Ezekiel 38. And by the way, there are 12 to 15 nuclear sites. Many of them are not in the territory of ancient Elam. So let's not try to squeeze, things to fit into something that has already been fulfilled. So as I said, today our war is against Iran, and the ancient name of Iran is Persia. And therefore, Ezekiel 38 is next. Any prophecy regarding Elam is a prophecy that has already been fulfilled. Okay, so it has to be very clear. Although in the ancient territory of Elam, there are some nuclear sites today, but there are many more nuclear sites not in that territory. So I wouldn't try and squeeze that thing into that prophecy. Joni asked, what possible reason could justify not destroying Iran's nuclear weapons? That's a very good question. In fact, if you ask me, we must destroy Iran's nuclear program, because once they have a weapon, you can imagine what they could do. I mean, they really want to destroy us, but they also want to destroy Saudi Arabia, and they also want to destroy any regime that may pose a threat to theirs. So we will do the whole world a great favor if we attacked their nuclear program. Now, if we're smart and we want to avoid any confrontation with the United States, and by the way, this pathetic administration does not want us to hit the nuclear program of Iran, what we can do is strike the sites that Iran never declared that they have. So it will hinder their nuclear program, but they cannot admit that we strike those sites because they never said that they have them. This way we don't cross any line with America, and we can also signal to the Iranians that we can do that. The current U.S. administration is the biggest problem that we have right now in order to achieve complete victory over Hamas and Hezbollah, as well as Iran. In order for them to continue to supply us with arms that we buy from them, they demanded us to sign on a piece of paper that basically ties our hands behind our back when it comes to how we fight. They want us to continue to provide humanitarian aid to Hamas. They want us not to touch UNRWA, which is a collaborator with Hamas. And they want the Red Cross to visit the terrorists, but they don't ask the Red Cross to visit the abductees. Shame on American administration that is taking care of Hamas terrorists way more than our own abductees, among which some are American citizens. So that's what we have right now, and it is just disgraceful. But this is what we have right now. Now, Israel, according to the Washington Post, which is very progressive and liberal, Israel Prime Minister said to Biden that we will not attack the nuclear sites or the oil and gas infrastructures. Allow me to doubt if the Washington Post indeed is correct. Israel is not going to tell anyone what we're about to attack. America told us not to enter into Rafah, and thank God we did. America told us not to enter into Lebanon, and thank God we did. Do you know what we found in Lebanon? Let me tell you something. A week and a half ago, we entered into southern Lebanon, and we found out that Hezbollah was ready and planning something 10 times worse than October 7th. The weapons, the maps, the bunkers, everything was ready. We prevented another October 7th. And when America is telling us, don't go in, America is telling us, do not do your job to prevent another October 7th. That's what it is. Same goes with Gaza. America told us, don't go to Rafah. Rafah is the key because from there, all the weapon flows into Gaza from the Egyptian side. And for months, they were pressing us not to, they told us that it's going to be a disaster. Well, it wasn't. We went in, and this is why Hamas is almost completely out of business. That's why. Unbelievable. Who is the Palestinian Islamic Jihad in Gaza? Are they friends with Hamas? Yes, they are. Look, there's so many fractions among the Palestinians that are conducting terror attacks against Israel. The Islamic Jihad has been more close and aligned with Iran for many, many years. Hamas has been much, much stronger, and the alliance that both organizations have is only because both of them want to annihilate Israel. That's all. They hate each other's guts, but for the sake of the common call to destroy the Jews and destroy Israel, they collaborate. June is asking, does Israel have the artillery to bomb the nuclear sites in Iran? There's quite a few nuclear sites. Israel, if we go all the way to Iran, 1,200 kilometers, I'm sure we're going to carry enough bombs to hit the most important part, nuclear reactors and enrichment facilities and all of that. But remember, you can have enough uranium, but if you don't do something with it, then it's just enriched uranium. We need to also hit the research centers where they're actually converting that uranium into a nuclear warhead. And then we need to also attack their ballistic missile sites, because the only way for them to convey the warhead is on top of a missile. So there's quite a few things that we can do to paralyze their efforts to attack Israel. Annie is asking, what is the morale in Israel right now? Much higher than it was a month ago. Ever since the beepers and the radios and the walkie-talkies, ever since we completely turned everything upside down, ever since we started destroying Hezbollah, you have to understand something. For the Israelis, Hezbollah was a monster. We feared Hezbollah way more than Hamas. This is, by the way, why we neglected Hamas and allowed the October 7th to happen, because our eyes were fixed on Lebanon. We were very ready when it comes to Hezbollah. We were not ready when it comes to Hamas. So for many years, the IDF was looking at Hezbollah as the big monster. So to see that big monster being completely dismantled almost within 3 weeks of course, it's uplifting the spirits, and for us to be able to invade into southern Lebanon and find all their monstrous things that they prepared against us, it's phenomenal. So yes, the morale is much, much, much higher. Suzanne is asking, any updates on the hostages in Gaza? Also, any news on those UN workers who were killed recently? Did they have terrorist connections? So first of all, we know more or less the whereabouts of many of the hostages. Unfortunately, for us to try and get them would mean that they would be killed. About half, if not more than the 101 hostages, or the 100 hostages that are still there, are dead already. We know that, and the families were notified about that. So at least 50 families are expecting dead bodies and not someone alive. Israel is still working hard. The problem is many of the living hostages are being held with a gun point, and so it's obvious that even if we know where they are, trying to release them at this point will mean their execution. When it comes to the UN soldiers in Lebanon or we are begging the UN people to move. We don't want them to be in harm's way. But from some strange reason, I'm not sure why, but when Israel is attacking, they don't want to move. But when in Syria, when the civil war started, they ran away straight into Israel to find shelter. So when terrorists are attacking, they run away to find shelter in Israel. When Israel is responding, they don't want to move. Suddenly, France and Italy and United States they're saying, don't let the United Nations forces leave their post. They did nothing for 30 years. And now when we need them out so we can finish the business, they don't want to move. I guess it's their responsibility. I don't think they had terrorist connection. I just think that they were afraid of Hezbollah and allowed Hezbollah to operate. Maybe even they got some payment to not do anything. Why doesn't Israel produce and manufacture their own weaponry? Then they never have to be beholden to others for decisions made or not made. It's a good question. We do have, in military industry, we are producing around-the-clock things, but we're also selling weapons to the whole world, and we're also buying weapons from America and from other countries. And that's how it is. Countries normally produce weapons and buy weapons. That's how it goes. It depends what type of weapon it is. Israel is definitely learning its lesson not to depend anymore on any country when it comes to us defending ourselves. We are producing, in fact, the bombs that killed Nasrallah in Beirut were actually Israeli bunker busters. If you follow me on Telegram, you know that already. What's the difference between Elam, Persia, and Iran according to your opening comments? The difference is very simple. Elam is an ancient kingdom in a small portion of Iran of today. Persia is a much more general name of all of Iran of today. So I truly believe that today we're fighting against Persia in the Bible and not against Elam. Elam is a kingdom that disappeared already, and the prophecies regarding Elam have been fulfilled. That kingdom does not exist anymore, and that's it. JT, do you think Iran will use nuclear force? Iran doesn't have yet the warhead. They may have enough uranium. I believe they do. I don't think they move to already take it into the production of a nuclear weapon, and I believe that they want to do it. They're trying to do it, but this is why I believe we must paralyze that process right now. How are bomb shelters effective if they are above ground? Bomb shelters are effective when they are thick concrete, walls, ceiling, and also windows and doors. So even if the bomb is falling around, the blast will not kill anyone. And so it's way more effective than just being in a place that can easily be penetrated. Sonia is asking, what is the difference between Hezbollah and Hamas? Hamas is a Sunni Muslim organization, Palestinian, that belongs to the Muslim Brotherhood movement. Hezbollah is a Shiite Muslim organization that actually is a proxy of Iran. They normally hate each other. Shiite and Sunnis have been fighting for the last 1,400 years, and they've been killing each other for decades. But for the sheer goal of destroying the Jews and Israel, they now collaborate. Denise is asking, we were told 5 hypersonic missiles have penetrated the Iron Dome and struck their targets. Is it true? Well, the Iranians claim they shot hypersonic missiles. They don't. We were not attacked by hypersonic missiles at all. Out of the 200 rockets that were fired, about 23 penetrated, but we allow them to penetrate in order to fall in open areas. Some did hit some structures, but it didn't kill anyone, and it didn't destroy any important thing. So it's simply not a legitimate report, Denise. Renee's asking, is the Ayatollah, Iran's supreme leader, considered a military target by the IDF? Absolutely. Any leader in Iran, of Iran, is a target, and they know that. That's why they are evacuating their supreme leader into safe zone, because they know he can be taken out. We want to take him out. He is the problem. He is the father of all of this diabolic plan to destroy us. Deacon is asking, how many THAAD systems are being sent to aid Israel, and will they make any difference? So far, only one has been sent in recent days. To tell you that they are going to make any difference, it's more on a declarative level. A THAAD interceptor cost 10 times more than an Arrow one. So Israel has an equivalent system that costs 10% than the THAAD. So I'm not sure if it will make a great difference, because there's only one battery. But it's on a declarative level. It shows Iran that America is here to assist Israel, and that's enough for the Iranians to know that we are not alone. Is the data reported by the Minister of Health in Lebanon accurate? Are they reliable? I'm not sure which data. There's over 2,000 people who died in Lebanon since October 8. By the way, all of them, it's an unnecessary death, which means the war that we had on October 7th was not against anyone in Lebanon. No one. We never, ever did anything to the Lebanese. They should have never started on October 8th to shooting rockets at Israel. Everything that happens to the people in Lebanon right now is not because we want war with them or we started a war with them. They started a war against us on October 8th. So all of these 2,000 people, their lives could have been saved if Lebanon would have stayed out of this and allowed us to finish Hamas, because Hamas started a war against us. That's all. Ronald is asking, taking the Biden-Harris attitude towards Israel into consideration regarding the continuous supply of ammunition, will Israel run out of ammunition soon? No. Now, if the war will last 2 more years, I mean, we're in trouble, but this is a very long war. We're entering the 13th month, and, we have intercepted many thousands of rockets. But to tell you that we run out of ammunition, we are not. We know how to handle things. If the Biden-Harris administration will turn next month into the Harris-Walz administration, then we are in trouble, for sure. And I will not hide from you, 95% of the Israelis preferred Trump. We know where he stands. We know that he is committed to destroy Iran's nuclear program. Look, President Trump right now is under threat from the Iranians. The Iranians want to kill him. He knows that. Biden knows that. The U.S. knows that. We know that. They are actively working hard to try to eliminate him and try to have Kamala Harris becoming the next president of the United States. That says a lot about who Kamala is if the Iranians so desperately wants her to be in power. As far as Israelis and Jewish people worldwide, we know exactly who is much better president for us, and let's hope that he will win. Philip is asking, what is the latest update about the mole in Iran's leadership? The later update is that there are many moles in Iran's leadership, and many moles in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, many moles among Hezbollah leadership, and many moles also in other militias. If you're talking about Khani, the leader or the commander of the Al-Quds force, he appeared today on television. He looked terrible, but he is still alive. It appears that he's there, but the Iranians know that we completely penetrated into their ranks. They know that. In fact, the Iranians also know that Hezbollah was completely penetrated. That's why they don't appoint a Lebanese person anymore to be the head of Hezbollah. They're sending one of their officers to run the operations in Lebanon on behalf of Hezbollah. Darlene is asking, would it be more expeditious for Israel's victory if Iran's nuclear plants are struck first rather than fuel and oil? Absolutely. It's important to remove. Look, not every day hundreds of fighter jets will make all the way to Iran's territory. And if we dare to do that, if we dare to go all the way, I think we need to carry out the most important mission, because God knows if we could do it again. So I think it'll be, look, more than Israel, I think Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, all of these moderate Sunni countries really want to see Iran's losing its nuclear capability forever. So we will do the whole world a great favor if we take care of that threat first. Why isn't Lebanon doing more to support Israel now that Hezbollah is weakened? Because Lebanon is a very divided country right now. In Lebanon, there are many minorities that comprise the Lebanese society. There are Christian Maronites. Among the Christians, there are Orthodox and Catholics. And, of course, there are the Druze, there are the Sunni Muslims, the Shiite Muslims. For the most part, people don't like Hezbollah, but Hezbollah is too powerful. It has tens of thousands of rockets still. It has a lot of soldiers on the ground, so people are too afraid to act against Hezbollah. Israel must continue to crush Hezbollah, and maybe, and only maybe then, the Lebanese will take things into their hands, smell the blood, and go and attack and take finally control over their country. I hope they'll do it. We have another question here. Nancy, if they hit the nuclear site's reactor in Iran, will there be a fallout globally? I don't think so. I think that Iran is not yet there with the nuclear capability, but I do think that Iran will want somehow to avenge by waiting and joining then a greater coalition such as the one that will be led by Russia. Again, I truly believe that Israel is going to strike in Iran. Israel will end up this war victorious and will be in that very position where we will have the atmosphere and reality that will eventually then lead to the Ezekiel war, which means we need to be safe, secure, and prosperous. It has to happen. Desiree, can you please elaborate on what you meant by the prophecy of Elam having already been fulfilled? Look, there are prophecies about Elam being destroyed in Jeremiah. And it's, some prophecies have dual meaning and dual and some of them talk not only about past but also future. But in this case, Elam is an ancient kingdom that is only in a small portion of Iran of today. And Elam is not there. Elam has been destroyed already. So why asking about, I mean, why suggesting that Elam has to be destroyed when that kingdom doesn't exist anymore? It is destroyed. It's almost like asking me, will the Babylonian Empire be destroyed? It has been destroyed already. I mean, we're not going to destroy an empire that has already been destroyed. Elam is not anymore here to be dealt with. Persia, however, all of Iran is here, and it will be destroyed or it dealt with, especially during Ezekiel's war. Curtis is asking, has Iran obtained nuclear weapons from other countries such as Russia? No, not weapons, but they are obtaining technology and knowledge. They still don't have a weapon. I think nobody wants them to have one because they're too crazy. But it's very obvious that they're on the race to have it. They've been lying to the whole world that they don't want a weapon. They told the whole world that all they want is nuclear energy. That's it. Israel told the world, they are lying to you. We found all of their documents. We stole their archive to prove to the whole world that they have secret program for military weapon, military use. And now everybody wake up to understand that this is exactly what they're going to do. Barbara is asking, what is the origin of the term Palestine, Palestinians? It goes back to 135 AD when the pedophile Caesar of Rome, Adrian, wanted to finish with the Jewish people and rename the land that was then called Judea and rename it after our Old Testament foes, the Philistines, to humiliate us. So he named it Palestina. So it has nothing to do with Arabs. It has to do with, basically humiliate the Jewish people and naming things after the Philistines, who, by the way, were Greek. They were not even Arabs. So there is no Palestine in the Bible. They were Philistines, and they were not of Arab origin at all. So that's who they are. The Arabs began to use the term Palestinians only in the mid-60s. That's it. When Israel already declared statehood in 1948, up until that point, Arabs were just calling themselves Arabs. But when they saw that the term Palestine is now free and Jews don't use it anymore, the Soviets decided to create the PLO and to establish a counterbalance to the American growing influence, and thus created the Palestinian narrative. And it's all the Soviet propaganda. There were no Palestinians before. There were Arabs before. We have all of their literature from before 1948. It's the Jews that call themselves Palestinians because we followed the ancient name of the Romans, and that appeared on every map until we established finally our independent state once again, and then restored the name that was given to us, Judea, of course, and Israel. What profit does the current U.S. administration have when it pushes so hard for Iran nuclear program not to be targeted or stopped? All they care right now is for the elections to go smoothly and for war not to widen and for oil prices not to go up and for American troops not to have to be having boots on the ground. So de-escalation is the term that American politics is using right now. They don't understand that in order to achieve peace, you need to win a war. If you don't win the war will never end. So de-escalation, it's prolonging the war rather than, by the way, if it wasn't for the shenanigans of this administration, we would have already wiped out Hamas and probably Hezbollah. So that's the problem that we have. Jasper is asking, wait a minute. Yeah, Jasper is asking, when will the Iron Beam be operational? Weeks. It's almost there. Rose, do you believe that this present war is the Gog and Magog war in the book of Ezekiel? Is this a sign of the rapture? No, this is not Gog and Magog. This is a war that is not in the Bible, like other wars. But I believe this is the war that will prepare the ground for the Gog and Magog. Gog and Magog, or Gog from the land of Magog in Ezekiel, is a war that is led by Russia and Turkey and Iran against Israel, and eventually God supernaturally will win and destroy them. This is not this war. So, and as far as the rapture is concerned, the rapture doesn't need any war to happen. The rapture is imminent. It can happen today, tomorrow, or even a week or a year from now. It doesn't have to have some war. The only thing that you have to remember, the only stipulation when it comes to rapture is it has to happen before the rise of the Antichrist. That's according to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. So, again, when we see the world preparing with the spirit of the Antichrist and preparing for a future world leader, you know, obviously, then that the rapture is around the corner. Kim, how credible is the threat from Ireland to join forces to defend Hezbollah? It's not credible. Not at all. I mean, Ireland is not even willing to accept Palestinians into its territory. Look, they talk and talk and talk. When it comes to doing things, they don't do it. Trust me. I mean, you can see what's going on there and see that they're not exactly enjoying the people that are supporting terrorism in their own country. Again, the Irish government wants the Irish UN soldiers not to move and not to evacuate. And by doing so, it's kind of protecting Hezbollah. But that's Ireland is not going to join the war. Domingo is asking, is there a possibility to change the leadership in the UN? Is there, if there is, in what way? There is no possibility. The UN is a corrupt body of mostly non-democratic countries, and it elects someone, in this case, is the worst that we've had in many years, anti-Semite. He hates Israel. He's a persona non grata. He's not even allowed to come to Israel. I don't even care. For us, UN stands for United Nothing or for unnecessary. Angie is asking, how do you think the destruction of Damascus will happen? It's a very good question, Angie. I think that the destruction of Damascus is going to lead eventually to the Ezekiel war. I believe that as all eyes were first on Gaza and then on Lebanon, now all eyes should be fixed on Syria, because Syria is the key maybe for us to eventually reach Iran and completely collapse this axis of evil and all of the octopus arms of the Iranians. So I believe that Iran and Russia and Turkey are so invested in Syria, that if something like that happened, that will really seal the deal for that coalition against us. We also have, where is Fatah in all of this? And why do we never hear of Abbas? Abbas is irrelevant. He's an old, corrupt Palestinian leader, a Holocaust denier. Nobody trusts him, even among his own people. He's irrelevant, and you don't hear about them because he's not ruling. He's not ruling. Everywhere there's the Palestinian Authority, there is chaos, there is lawlessness, and that's it. He's out of control. Don't trust him. Bad news. Does the Bible say how long Israel will enjoy peace and prosperity before Ezekiel 38 war? No. The Bible doesn't say that. The Bible talks about the length of years after the war, how long it'll take us to burn the weapons of war and all of that, but we don't know how long it's going to be before, but we know it has to be peaceful and it has to be prosperous. So even if it's for 1 or 2 years, it's enough for that coalition to gain momentum, gain power, and then come against us. But remember, for that to happen, America has to be weak, and Europe has to be weak, and Russia has to take advantage of this. Carolyn is asking, why can't they find Sinwar? Well, it's very simple. Sinwar is under the ground, surrounding himself with hostages, not using any means of communication. And even if we know where he is, we can't get to him without knowing that 20 or 30 of our hostages will be killed instantly. So it's not like we don't know where he is. we just can't operate right now without risking the lives of the living hostages. Annalise is asking, since Hamas is almost defeated, why is it still so hard to free the hostages? Because America is tying our hands behind our back. We're trying right now to basically lay siege, deny every supply to the terrorists so they surrender, and America will not allow us. That's why. As I said before, America is demanding us to bring the Red Cross to visit the terrorists. It demands us to bring humanitarian aid. It demands us to... And all of this humanitarian aid is being stolen by Hamas and keeping Hamas in power. I don't understand, but that's what we have to deal with. Pete is asking, why are drones such a problem for Israeli technology to detect? It's because it's so low tech. It's a slowly flying in low altitude vehicle. Israel is very advanced. And by the way, we are working right now on a new technology, which will be revealed very soon. But it is so low tech that it's actually a problem for us. But remember, a drone can never bring down a high rise or destroy a large place. But it can definitely hit any crowded area and kill some people. Christensen is asking, someone say that the tribulation has begun on October 7th. Is that true? Absolutely not. Anyone that claims that never, ever, ever read the book of Revelation. For the tribulation to begin, the Antichrist has to first appear as a man of peace. Because the tribulation is made of 7 years of false peace and later on a horrific war. But it's not something even near to what is going on right now. Guys, read the book of Revelation. Read the description of the tribulation. These are cataclysmic events that the world has never, ever seen before. That's not what we have right now. I'm sorry to say that. Caroline is saying, is the Gaza in the Bible the same Gaza as today? It's the same area. The Gaza Strip today is all the way from the Egyptian border all the way to the border not far from Ashkelon in the north. And yes, the part of what we have today as Gaza is the Gaza of the Bible. By the way, inside Gaza, Palestinian area right now, there are ruins of a Jewish synagogue. Jews live there, just so you know. John, when will Israel finally deal with the Houthis from Yemen? Well, from time to time, we are flying all the way to Yemen. We drop a few tons of explosive. We disable their ports in Hodeidah and other places. And then they are staying quiet and lick their wounds. And that's what we did a few weeks ago. And that's what they are doing right now. They're pretty quiet over the last few weeks ever since. And if needed, we'll have to do it again. Brad is asking, do you think Israel will be tasked to rebuild Gaza? Let us first finish destroying it and then talk about rebuilding it. Right now, almost every home in Gaza is a terror base, either has weapons or has infrastructures for terrorists. Therefore, it is being destroyed. It'll take decades to restore Gaza. I don't think we even think about it right now. What we want right now is to finish the war, get our abductees, and destroy Hamas. Later on, we'll have to see what we do. But right now, we don't even deal with that because we haven't finished yet. America is not letting us finish the job right now. Pam is asking, are you worried about Russia and Iran being united? Well, look, I know the end of the book, so I'm not that worried. I know that God is going to defeat them eventually. But we are watching this alliance, that unholy alliance, already happening. We're watching it, and unfortunately, it's something that should worry many. They're going to come against us, and it's not going to be easy. But thankfully, we know the end of the book. Thankfully, we know the end of the chapter. Read Ezekiel 38. God will intervene, and in a very amazing, supernatural way, He will be the one who will defeat those enemies of Israel, and the whole world will be astonished. Nelson is asking, how many terrorists POWs are Israel having to cater for, and is there enough facilities to hold them? Thousands of them are in the hands of Israel. We do have facilities. We are catering. If you ask me, all of the perpetrators of the massacre should have been executed, but they are not. They are going to stand for trial, and they're eating our food. They're using our shelters. They're having better life probably now than they had in Gaza. So I'm not sure how long it's going to take. But when I say executed, I mean tried and executed, capital punishment. I'm not just saying shoot people. I'm just saying try them, capital punishment, and that's it. CJ, are the Philistines from the Bible the Palestinians today? Absolutely not. The Palestinians today are Arabs. Ask them, they'll tell you. They don't even know what the Philistines is. The Philistines in the Bible were people from the island of Kaftor, from Crete, from the Greek Isles. They were not from Arabia. They were not Arabs. They were not Middle Eastern. They were sea people. And so that's definitely not the case. The Canaanites don't exist anymore. The Philistines don't exist anymore. After King David, we don't hear about them. That's it. They were gone. So the Palestinians are Arabs that decided to use the name Palestinians because it was vacant. Jews stopped calling themselves Palestinians because they have now independent state called Israel, so now they're called Israelis. And the Soviets thought, let's create a new entity that will not help the Jews to expand and actually be the problem there, so we can we can definitely not allow American interest to win in that area. David is asking, what would you say to the Palestinian sympathizers in the United States? All I will say is that study your history and open your eyes to understand that they don't only hate Israel, they hate America. You will never see American flags in their demonstrations. You will only see Palestinians, Hamas, Hezbollah. They hate your guts. Shame on Americans that sympathize with those that hate America. What happened? Now, I just saw the poll that shows that 80% of Americans support Israel and 20% support Hamas. That's 20% too much. Those 20% that support Hamas are actually 20% that hates America. So there's 20% in America that hates America, and that should alarm the Americans very much so. So it's important that you guys denounce it and stay away from it. Israel is your ally, and they want to destroy us, and trust me, you're the big Satan. They call Israel small Satan, they call America big Satan. We are on their way to come to you. So just remember that when you deal with Palestinian sympathizers. Guys, this is it. We're almost at the end. I hope I answered as many questions as you can. I want to tell you all, please, 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 one of the best things you can ever get for your friends and family for Thanksgiving or Christmas is my latest thriller, which apparently some of the things that are here were already happening. It's almost prophetic. We can put on the screen right now the QR code so you can order it. It'll really help me if you pre-order it now so we can get this book up in the numbers so it can also be in the big stores, and non-Christians will be exposed to through fiction to biblical content. Help me. I need your help. The Sick Man's Rage. This is the fourth installment, and all four of them are describing the members of the countries of Ezekiel 38. It's phenomenal. You will not let this book down. put this book down. I mean, you are going to read, and it's amazing. Please help me get the Sick Man's Rage, sickmansrage.com. It'll really help me. Thank you. God bless you. And shalom from Galilee.